So I haven't been able to record an awful lot lately with things like college and whatnot getting in the way. But I thought I'd make a quick video kind of talking about what kind of things I would like to see in Crisis on Infinite Earths because we're getting closer and closer to it. And we've gotten a lot of information lately about little things of what to expect and whatnot. So I thought this would be fun to kind of do. Obviously the shows are starting back soon. We're about a month out from the premieres of all of them, really. I think Arrow starts back a week later than most, which means we're about 3 weeks away from Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman, I think, and then 4 weeks away from Arrow and Black Lightning. It might be a little bit iffy on those dates, but we're getting close, is what I'm saying. And we've gotten posters for Flash and Supergirl, new promos for Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, Black Lightning, all of this sort of stuff. We're just kind of waiting on new stuff for Arrow, which I'm guessing will be next week to line up with its premiere, kind of 3 weeks out from it. But yeah, what kind of things would I like to see in Crisis on Infinite Earths? Well, one big thing that I would love to see that seems to be getting increasingly less and less likely as we get closer to the crisis is I wanted to see characters from Smallville show up, and this seemed like it was likely for a couple of reasons. One, we know that 90s Flash now exists in this continuity. Two, we've been getting characters from even Batman 66 confirmed for appearing in Crisis, or at least in the episodes running up to Crisis. It's kind of crazy how deep DC and the CW are digging into the lore of DC Comics, and we even got a bunch of, Easter eggs for Smallville during Elseworlds, such as the Smallville Kent Farm showing up, and the Green Arrow costume from Smallville was in that Earth 90 promo where we see the Monitor basically murder all the heroes from Earth 90. One of the dead heroes looks very similar to the Green Arrow from Smallville. So it seemed I thought it was going to be pretty inevitable that we would get characters from Smallville showing up, and Smallville was the first comic book TV show I was ever really into, and it's still a huge love of mine, so I was really excited for the prospect that we might see some of these characters return. And there was even rumors that Tom Welling was showing up in Arrow Season 8. It's kind of crazy, but then Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, who plays Lex Luthor, have both said that they've heard nothing from anyone at CW asking them to appear in the crossover. They've heard not a lot of stuff about it either, which seems that Smallville might be getting a miss for the crossover, which is a little disappointing, but if there's one thing I really want to see, it's characters from Smallville showing up. Number two that I want to see is John Wesley Shipp playing Earth 90 Flash again. We got finally confirmation that he is coming back, and it seemed pretty inevitable how last crossover kind of just ended with that version of Flash just ominously disappearing, with the Monitor just sent him away. Now it's possible and likely that he'll be playing the Jay Garrick from Earth 3, but since we'll be seeing multiple different Earths in the crossover. It's also possible he'll be playing some form of Henry Allen. But I really, really, really want to see him back as Barry Allen from Earth 90 to get more for him to do, because he didn't really get an awful lot to do in Elseworlds. He was just kind of there for a couple glorified cameos. I want to see him show up more. I want to hear more of that Earth 90 Flash theme, and I just want to see more of his character, find out more about, I don't know, his Earth, what happened once Flash over. Are all of the heroes from his Earth dead now? Stuff like that I think will be really interesting to see. Number three is, I guess this is kind of two things I want to see, but I want to see Superman versus Lex Luthor and Superman versus Reverse Flash. So, Superman vs. Reverse Flash has been teased since Crisis on Earth X. Towards the end of that crossover, Eobard Thawne says that he fought Superman in the future. And I'm kind of excited about the prospect that since they'll both be in this crossover, that this might be the conflict they were talking about. It also could be something they're keeping up their sleeve for much later on down the line, like a mini crossover. Could be Superman versus Reverse Flash, which I'd be so down for. But if the way they do these kind of little things to start off the crossovers, like we see some minor villains from the other shows show up to fight. Like, for example, we saw Oliver versus Damien Dark and Heroes Join Forces crossover. We saw Barry versus King Shark at the beginning of Crisis on Earth X, and we saw Slade Wilson's son Jericho show up in part 2 of Elseworlds. I would like to see something like that with maybe Superman versus Reverse Flash. Maybe after Crisis on Infinite Earths ends and the characters from Supergirl's Earth are brought onto the main Earth, we could see something like that, which would be awesome. Superman vs. Lex Luthor is something that we surprisingly have gotten none of yet in the Arrowverse, despite the fact that both characters exist on Supergirl and Lex Luthor is by far the most iconic Superman villain. And we haven't seen them go head to head, we haven't seen them share screen time, we've just heard about how much they hate each other and how Lex Luthor is the man of tomorrow and not Superman. A lot of cool stuff like that, and there's so many interesting things that they could do with it, especially since John Cryer is an amazing Lex Luthor and Tyler Hoechlin is an amazing Superman, and I would just love to see them on screen at the same time. I think it would be amazing, and if they don't do it, it's gonna be a little bit of a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Number 4 that I want to see is, I want to see them go back to the movie style format that Crisis on Earth X had. I think this one is also kind of inevitable. Elseworlds was my favorite crossover, but the thing about Elseworlds is it felt very much like the earlier crossovers in that every episode felt like an episode of the respective show. Like, the first episode of Elseworlds felt like a Flash episode, the second episode of Elseworlds felt like an Arrow episode. Like, sure, they definitely went from one to the next and whatnot, but they didn't have that movie feel that Crisis on Earth X had. Earth X felt like a huge spectacle. All of the episodes seamlessly went from one into the next like it was a movie, and there wasn't really any divide like, oh, here's all of the cast of Arrow. Like, sure, the cast of Arrow showed up for the first time in the Arrow episode, but it didn't feel like they were shoehorned in because it was an Arrow episode. It felt natural. I want something like that as well. Plus, even the soundtrack for Crisis on Earth X, it had a certain feel to it that just, it was like, not to say that the normal episodes of the show have bad soundtracks, they don't, they're amazing, because Blake Neely is a god when it comes to that sort of stuff, but there was just something about the Earth X soundtrack that even that felt higher quality and more movie-like, and I would love to see more of that kind of stuff, just the way things were shot. Even the trailer felt like a movie trailer. I really want them to do it with Infinite Earths, which, because it's probably, I mean, it's kind of the biggest thing the CW have ever done. I have a feeling they're definitely not going to pull any punches, and they're definitely going to give it all they can and give it that movie feel. Number 5 that I want to see is a lot of Black Lightning related stuff. This is another one that a lot of people were worried about, is that Black Lightning and Anissa and Jennifer Pierce were maybe just going to be glorified cameos, show up when we get kind of shots of a bunch of Earths, which was a natural kind of thing to be worried about. That Black Lightning itself isn't getting an episode devoted to Crisis as far as we know, but Mark Guggenheim did post a picture on his Twitter saying 5 scripts, 6 shows. We're assuming those 5 scripts are Arrow, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, and The Flash, and the 6th show is Black Lightning. And the fact that he's, making it appear that it's a show included in the crossover, that it's going to be a full-on Black Lightning, and all of his cast will show up in an episode and really help out. Number 6 that I want to see is, just like Crisis on Earth X, is a huge group shot of all the heroes. We got a bunch of them in part 4 of Crisis on Earth X, like we got the one where all of the cast were standing in front of the computer screen when like Arrow was there leading the team, and then he was talking to Earth X Oliver, and he was like, we need your Kara, and Oliver's like, there's a difference between you and me. We don't trade lives. And we just had all of the team, like all of the characters behind him. That was perfect. And then it went right into the battle scene where all of them were lined up in a quick shot when they were going up against the Nazis. I want more of that sort of stuff, because Elseworlds didn't have the cast of characters to do something like that. And we did get a few nice little group shots of Oliver, Barry, Kara, and Earth 90 Barry, and then we got a nice little one towards the end, which was Barry, Kara, Oliver, Lois Lane, Superman, Martian Manhunter, and Brainiac 5, I believe was all of them. But a lot of them weren't in costumes, a lot of them were just in civilian clothes. And while it was cool to see all these characters together on screen, there was nothing, big about it. But I want to see something big like that, like Superman, Batwoman, Green Arrow, Supergirl, the Legends of Tomorrow, all of them just on screen at one time, ready to fight. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, those are just a couple quick things that I would love to see in the crossover. And there's a lot more I would love to see, but they're just kind of the main ones. But what about everyone else? What would you like to see in the crossover? What do you hope we see? What do you hope we don't see, even? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe, and all of that. And I hope you have an awesome day.